All right, welcome back, everyone. It is LaughNgamez here. I'm back with another Starcraft 2 1 versus 1 replay cast. Let me just make sure that I get that audio going there. And yeah, I'm back. It's time for another actual, just legitimate replay cast. For the past couple of days on this channel, I've just been uploading to Freak of World VODs and stuff. Still a few more of those to come down the line, but I figured WCS, the World Championship Series for StarCraft 2, just wrapped up its final stop of the season. And I figured I wanted to do like a more like a personal VOD. I kind of just miss sitting there and yammering to myself about some StarCraft 2, which we may or may not be paying attention to. Do have a fantastic match, though. I did just say WCS wrapped up, and that means the replays are out. These are very recent pro replays, just this past weekend that tournament went on. And so I'm going to try and cover the matches that might not necessarily have been shown on the mainstream. They may have. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to just sit back and watch the whole tournament, but WCS is long, man. It's like a day's work just to sit back and watch the whole tournament. I mean, good to have the background, and I did catch some of the games live, but that also makes it a lot better for me to cast. So, without further ado, on the map Ephemeron, spawning up in the top left-hand side of the map, it's Liquid uThermal. uThermal, one of the top North American Terran players. He is not top European Dutch from the Netherlands. Terran players, pardon me. I got my players mixed up there. Off to a good start. It's been a hot minute since I did a replay cast. Spawning down in the bottom right-hand side of the map, it is Jonsnow. Let me just, I want to think he's still on Storm Gaming. And I'm going to Google Jonsnow, and I'm going to get absolutely nothing StarCraft 2 related. Alright, yeah, he is still on Storm. Now, what we look at here, though, is Jonsnow. While I was just saying the old welcome back, he went for a bit of an early pool, so a little bit of a cheeky build, trying to cheese uThermal out just a little bit. However, uThermal, a very smart Terran player, went for an SCV Scout. SCV Scouts are so good in StarCraft 2, ladies and gentlemen. If you're a Terran, it makes your life so much easier. It basically means that you don't have to try and micro a Reaper or try and pull SCVs or something like that to stop an early pool. So uThermal getting a nice little edge here. Just off the bat, Jonsnow went for that early aggression, didn't pay off, so he'll be slowed down just a bit by that. Now, as I said, that is just a small advantage, so nothing too major. Plenty of Zergs have played out just macro games off the back of like a 16 pool and just been A-okay. Meanwhile, this SCV is still kind of hanging out here for uThermal, just scouting on out, staying in the main base for a long time. Like, Jonsnow, you gotta find that SCV. You should have killed him. The Queen was shooting him a little bit, but Queens are notoriously slow for actually dealing damage. They're very tanky, some of the most tanky units in the game, as a matter of fact. However, they are just not very quick at killing things. So this SCV for uThermal still has free reign because the Zerglings for Jonsnow were just hanging out still. So, this SCV finally does go down. This game is just macroing on here. Now, talking about this actual matchup, I mean, it's already going pretty well for uThermal. He comes on in with his Reaper, doesn't manage to nab himself a probe. But no, this match in particular, you generally think that, like, uThermal is going to be considered a pretty big favorite. He is a player with, say, much deeper WCS runs and tournament results, and is considered quite a high-caliber pro player. And Jonsnow, I mean, he's very good at the game. However, I don't even think he's completely full-time. He's like a student as his main focus. I don't quote me on that entirely, but he's not, say, as serious of a pro gamer. He's still incredibly good, though, and he's been top in North American Zerg for a long time. However, uThermal still is, without a doubt, the favorite in this matchup. But the reason I want to cast, you might be like, well, if you think it's just going to be kind of like a pretty clear favorite. For starters, I saw that the matches are potentially really crazy, so I thought, all right, I gotta cast this one. And or I heard that the matches were really crazy, and I thought, all right, I gotta cast this one for starters. And another reason is Jonsnow and uThermal have like a bit of a rivalry going on in a sense. Pretty much like it seems that they meet in a tournament pretty much every single time that uThermal comes over to North America to play in a tournament, where Jonsnow, without a doubt, is probably going to be, because he does go out to all those local lands usually. So the fact that Jonsnow is here, and is playing uThermal again once again. It's just something you gotta watch. uThermal coming in with a Liberator for starters, though, going for a little bit of cheeky harassment. Then just taking a look, just continuously poking and prodding with his Hellions. He's getting up at third base behind this. 1-1's already on the way for Jonsnow. uThermal, though, just getting up a Stimpack, getting up a tank, some starports. I mean, he doesn't have a ton right now. Jonsnow doesn't have an overwhelming amount of workers or anything like that, thanks to harassment from uThermal, just keeping the pressure on him a little bit. Now some drones going to be getting fried on up, so that worker count going to be falling a bit more. And now Jonsnow is going to get a nice wraparound with his Link, so actually shuts down the Hellions. Most of them go down, so in the end it is about 7 Hellions for 7 drones, or 6 Hellions and a Reaper for 7 drones. So not actually the worst trade in the world there for Jonsnow. He does lose at Overlord, though, as that command center gave high ground vision. The Marines picked it off. uThermal is trying to secure his third base. Jonsnow has seen it, though, so he's got that information. And I mean, everything considered, this isn't a terrible spot for Jonsnow. He's starting to spread his creep still. He's got his upgrade lead on uThermal. He's starting up a lair, a Baneling Nest. So yeah, just a pretty standard Terran versus Zerg here. And I'm excited to see how this one's going to progress. uThermal doesn't really have anything that's like, oh my god, he's going to go kill Jonsnow right now. No, he's just got a couple of tanks, a decent amount of Marines. He's just getting up his production online, and that'll still be a minute before that's finished up. We are seeing 1-1 on the way for uThermal now. So both these players powering up on their upgrades. However, Jonsnow, he's looking to secure that 4th base, as Zerg does. He's getting up a Baneling Nest. I think starting Baneling speed pretty much immediately, as soon as this Lair and Bane Nest are done, is going to be a very important step. As just having speed for Banelings is such an important upgrade for Zerg. So there we go. Jonsnow starts that right away. Great to see the Zerg player going for that. Starting his +2 melee as well. Probably going to start his Carapace right after that. So just playing a very macro-focused game. He's still got a bit of time to prepare before the pressure is really going to start mounting. However, a little bit's coming his way now. 2 medivacs filled with Marines. At this stage in the game, the Zerg shouldn't just die to anything like this. However, Jonsnow does have to take this seriously, does have to react to it. uThermal's unloading his Marines. The Queens, though, they're in position. They got some transfuse energy, and the Marines, they don't have their +1 attack just yet, so I don't think they're really going to be able to navigate screens too easily. Queens are stepping forward. uThermal might actually just decide to focus down this hatchery. He's thinking about it. Jonsnow is having to zone him out with a couple of Banelings and Links just to break that focus there. However, he doesn't really want to push into these Marines, so this hatchery taking a bit of fire here. However, now Jonsnow, he's got the hatchery up, so it can be transfused, and uThermal is really committed here. It looks like he's actually going to move all the medivacs there, and he does. So suddenly the Queens have done their job with really shutting down this drop. For the most part, anyway, they do have to transfuse that hatchery, keep it alive. I mean, those Marines starting to run out of gas a little bit. The Queens dumping their transfuse. That was a little bit dicey for Jonsnow, but in the end, I think shutting down the 2 medivacs, and he's probably going to get these Marines too, and make it absolutely worth it there. uThermal trying to get all the value he could there, but still, losing those medivacs is a pretty big, pretty painful move there for the Terran, as it just gives the Zerg a bit of peace of mind, because usually it's like 1 drop starts and then a 2nd drops, and it's kind of like you're just trying to juggle all the drops coming your way, and shutting one of those down definitively is very nice for the Zerg. That being said, though, Jonsnow still down on supply. uThermal has just been macroing up that Terran production coming into effect. However, once again, uThermal is coming in with a drop, so we'll see if Jonsnow can shut it down, but uThermal actually looking for the hatchery, and he does manage to grab it this time, so going to be happy with what he gets, and then just gets on out of there. So, Jonsnow, his economy being slowed down a little bit. If he can afford it, I was just going to say, getting another expansion up would be very nice, and there we see it. So, a double expand coming out of the Zerg player. It's almost always worth it to double expand. It might be a little bit dicey, but it's usually worth the commitment, just based on the fact that chances are one of these hatcheries could be cancelled by uThermal going for more aggression. So the fact that Jonsnow's like doubling down, right? Like, don't put all your eggs in one basket, don't put all your hope in one hatchery, so to speak. Now, we see Jonsnow, he is getting up these mutants, so he's got his 2-2 done, and that's a significant chunk of time ahead of the Terrans, so not bad at all for the Zerg. He should be able to shut down these drops when it comes to a direct conflict, as long as he's in position. And right now, Jonsnow not looking like he's in position. There we go. One of those hatcheries got killed there from the team. They killed or canceled, and the other one gets killed there too, so that's actually very, very painful for Jonsnow. That is 2 confirmed hatchery kills, so one of them was canceled, the other wasn't. So that's actually very, very painful for Jonsnow. I mean, just wasn't quite in position for that. And despite having the 2-2s, I mean, uThermal got in there and cancels both hatcheries. Apparently Jonsnow may need to build 3 here. Otherwise, uThermal's going to try and just cancel him again. In all seriousness, though, that was a very nice identification from the Terran, just realizing that the Zerg a little bit spread out. I mean, Ephemeron, a very, very spread out map. We saw how far away this 5th base was for Jonsnow. He also lost all of his queens earlier, so the creep spread, not really impressive enough in order to make this proper. Now we are seeing some banelings coming in. They're going to chase these medivacs away. It's like 2 of the medivacs are going to be getting picked off here by these mutas. So Jonsnow getting that value there. However, uThermal looking to push across the map perhaps, and this is where it can become very, very dicey for the Zerg. Once again, Jonsnow, he's been slowed down a little bit, losing those hatcheries. Just the early opening, I mean, kind of snowballing here a little bit. So uThermal is up on supply, which is pretty darn good for the Terran. That being said, the baneling count can really make supply not too worrisome for the Zerg, as banelings can really turn the tide in the fight as long as they don't actually increase the Zerg supply. So 31 banelings for Jonsnow. Looking to roll on in here. uThermal's doing a good job splitting. However, this attack that didn't seem to be all of uThermal's army actually just got crushed. So uThermal kind of fighting with just like one of his hands tied behind his back. The rest of that supply wasn't there, so he did end up losing a fair chunk of his army there. Jonsnow, though, did have to pay to clean that up in a sense, so he's still not caught up in supply. He's got his 4th base up, though. He's finally keeping that alive for now, looking to get up a 5th base and keep this ball rolling. Baneling's connecting with this army right now. Mutas are being pushed back from the store, though. And suddenly Jonsnow's muta count, or his baneling count, has actually fallen dramatically, which is very concerning for the Zerg. He really needs to fire some more of these up, because banelings really are the great equalizer for Zerg. You get a few good baneling connections, or you get kind of an overwhelming amount, and you're sitting pretty. However, Jonsnow doesn't have a ton right now. There goes all of his banelings he had that rolled on in. He's making more to try and deal with this. He's got lings going in, trying to engage on top of these stores, and these stores, they do have the +1 armor. However, the mutas have the +1 attack, so they do get cleaned up. And so far, we are seeing that Jonsnow is holding on. He really needs to make sure that he's spending all of his money, though. Both players actually building up a bit of a bank here, just making such good money here off the back of their economies. And, yeah, just such good money off the back of their economies that they both got to make sure they're spending it. Jonsnow, maybe he needs, like, another macro hatchery or something like that, as he's got a decent mineral bank right now, and you just want to produce everything you can. There's nothing worse than a game of Starcraft here, really, than dying with money in the bank. Now, we do see Jonsnow is spending his money. He spent most of his gas on banelings, making another round of 20. He has a few banelings rolling on in, trying to deal with some of these widow mines, and he's done a pretty decent job of that so far. So suddenly uThermal may have overcommitted again a little bit here. Just some Marines moving forward, and they are all going to get cleaned up from the scene. But meanwhile, there is a bit of an attempted counterattack by the mutas. However, they didn't get too much done. Still a 16 count of mutas for the Zerg player. He's going to come and need them pick off these medivacs, which is very nice. Prevents the Terran going into something like, say, Liberators, or keeps costing them more money. Of course, always worth it. A poor muta or two takes a widow mine for the team, but in the end, still pretty good for the Zerg. Being able to clean all this up, gonna nab up another widow mine. Jonsnow showing he's got that control down, and he has gone up to 5 bases. He's getting up towards a greater spire, which is great to see. Getting adrenal glands. No 3-3 started for the Zerg just yet. Quite expensive upgrades for both players. Kind of a must for the Terran, though. The Zerg, if you're rushing towards a tech or something, it's kind of acceptable to skip it, but we do see Jonsnow go for that now, which is great to see. So just wanting to stay on par with upgrades. Now we see Jonsnow is forced uThermal back a little bit, so he's looking to push on in towards the natural base of the Terran. Picks off a missile turret. However, uThermal, smart Terran, goes for multiple. Sometimes Terrans will just go for one, and the guy in the turret will be like, you expect me to kill how many Mutalisks? So great to see that uThermal spending some of his extra minerals there, investing in those turrets, even if it just buys more time and makes it a bit more costly for the Zerg to commit on in. Now, let's take a look here. uThermal moving in with a small portion of his bio, but for the main part, he hasn't crossed the map for a minute here. So now we're seeing him go, but, I mean, Jonsnow has quite the heads up that this is coming. He sees the rally that's moving across the map. These mutas could be a little bit caught here. Oh, this is actually really bad for Jonsnow. Going to lose some of his mutas. Has to go over sort of, pick your poison, right? So, eats a widow mine or two, and then, we take a look. Jonsnow losing a few of his mutas. How many banelings does he have still? Wait, did Jonsnow lose? Oh no. Jonsnow had lost his baneling nest and he never replaced it. Oh, that is disastrous. Yeah, that Baneling nest went down there. So actually no Banelings for Jonsnow. So that's actually, so he's really just got Lings and Mutas. And that is not enough to take care of a Terran army like this. He's trying to get up Corruptors so he can morph Broodlords, and he is morphing them immediately, which is great to see. So if you're a Zerg and you can hold on to the Broodlords, you're probably sitting pretty. Good move by Jonsnow as well, getting off some of these siege tanks as well. However, that was a little bit dicey there, not having Banelings for a second and Terran on your doorstep. However, it looks like the timings will work out for Jonsnow, so he's not just going to die to uThermal. And now let's take a look. 6th base on the way for Jonsnow. 5th base just still up and running, and then he really is securing that base in the bottom left. So this game's going the distance here. A long Terran versus Zerg between Jonsnow and uThermal. No super definitive blows have gone well. I mean, uThermal got that bit of early hatchery kills off that looked very promising for the Terran, but in the end, Jonsnow did a good job stabilizing. Look at that, even the Banelings just burrowed right in the face of the Terran there. Not sure what that was. Jonsnow does reveal that he indeed has burrow. So might be some dirty Baneling landmines a little bit later. You can also just place Lings wherever to secure your vision. Burrow it underneath that command center. Do it, Jonsnow. Just do it. Oh no, that Ling. He's gonna have a bad time there. Oh, never mind. Finds the SCV. Oh, he's gonna follow the SCV though. Oh no. Rip. Oh, may that SCV. May that Baneling or Ling rest in peace. On the front here, we do have uThermal being pushed back by the Zerg player right now. I mean, I don't think he really expected Broodlords so quickly. I mean, he's like, oh man, Jonsnow has managed to tech up to these, so I gotta do something to deal with this. He's making Vikings, making Liberators as this is going on right now. He's got his Mutas still doing his thing. Very impressive for Jonsnow. The fact that he's still been going for Mutalisk as well, and he's done a decent job keeping them alive. I mean, he's lost 19 this game. So that is actually a few that he's lost, but he's always been getting something done with him. And now we see these Broodlords are starting to push into uThermal's side of the map. And what does uThermal really have to deal with this? Is Jonsnow going to be able to push in and kill the Terran? We take a look at the anti-air, and as a matter of fact, it's like mainly Widow Mines and Marines, so not very good there for the Terran. We see Liberators are getting on top of these Broodlords, though. A couple of Queens crossing the map to help him out, though. And uThermal, he's kind of just in full-blown panic mode a little bit, like a Terran does when you don't really have the correct way to deal with Broodlords. You're like, I guess I'll just counterattack and try and buy time, right? And that's what he's trying to do. So we're seeing a drop go towards the 5th base. We're seeing a drop go towards the 6th base. There might even be more harassment somewhere else. So far, though, Jonsnow, determined to push, does need to get some units back to defend here. Jonsnow making Corruptors in order to ensure that he has the air control still. His Mutas so far have been a portion of it. However, we do take a look right now, and these Broodlords are mainly undefended. Where were those Queens on the ground? Oh no, they turned around. So some Broodlords are going to go down. However, Corruptors are starting to sort of stream on in a little bit. So Jonsnow can always make more Broodlords. However, he needs to clean out these Vikings first. And he doesn't actually have all of his Corruptors here, so taking quite an unfavorable engagement. He's got a ton of damage done to uThermal, but keep in mind, uThermal's been dropping all over. He didn't kill that one. He didn't kill any of the bases, as a matter of fact. So it's still going okay for Jonsnow. However, uThermal is staying alive. He's doing a very good job keeping his hope alive in this game. I mean, he lost his natural, lost a fair few structures as well. Just really had when you have that many Broodlords close to your production, you're always a little bit shaken as the Terran. So taking a look here, it's odd to see where this game's going, but I mean, uThermal, it was dicey for him. However, he's still got his good economy going. He's got CCs for days, and when I say for days, he's like, yeah, let's build some more. Still don't got enough. Currently, uThermal at 3 orbitals, 3 planetaries, 2 CCs, and then he's got more on the way. So basically a million, if you guys really do the math. Now these Queens for Jonsnow kind of just very, very confused, far away from home and confused. Meanwhile, we see Jonsnow, he's going for some Infestors. He's like, hey, they got nerfed, but I'll give him a go still. And then we see what else were we seeing on the way for Jonsnow here? We were also seeing just, yeah, more Corruptors and Festers. So late game from Jonsnow, making more Banelings, which is great to see. I see a Spine or 2 going up, which is also great to see for the Terran or for the Zerg. Always worth it to go for that static defense. I feel it just saves you such a headache from defending from little bits of harassment that require your attention. Now we do see the Terran is starting to push on in, which is a little bit interesting the fact that uThermal would make the choice to maybe go in for an attack. I'm not sure he's aware that there's infestors at this, so all it takes is one good fungal on that ramp, and there's that great fungal on that ramp. That is beyond good. So uThermal getting his army surrounded here, overcommitted out on the map, and all of a sudden he loses his Thor, his bio on the ground. The Vikings are in retreat, and Jonsnow is spilling forward. The supply of the Terran is dropped. The Zerg player, fantastic fungal there from Jonsnow. That infestor, get that infestor a medal. That was beautiful. uThermal, it was that moment which he knew that he was in trouble. Now, uThermal, I mean, as long as you're not dead as a Terran, you can kind of just stay alive, right? Like, I mean, you can always just try and keep your production going, buy enough time. That's really what Terran does. Oh, Jonsnow, a bit of a mistake here too. I mean, Corruptors are incredibly tanky units. Some of the most I said this about Queens earlier, but some of the most tanky units in the game. Corruptors are tough to kill. Like, it takes missile turret just lit up on that Corruptor. He's like, eh, it ain't so bad. Command Center going to be under fire here from uThermal. The Corruptors, I mean, they don't kill these things super quickly, but not a lot coming to help out this CC, so uThermal going to lose one of those. Jonsnow wants to secure that base. And we look at the supply, though. uThermal, I mean, he's got a very good economy, so he's just been able to remax despite being down there. So the game just continues on. What a crazy TvZ, just the fact that this is still being played out. Eventually, we'll really have to start seeing if this will progress to the late game. This is kind of weird. We're kind of in purgatory right now, just between these players, just being so... It's like just been such a scrappy game. No one's really reached their ideal army or anything like that. We did just see 14 drones go down. I get the feeling that was a Widow Mine. Okay, there was drones here. Okay. Sorry, just had to check this one out. The 21-minute Widow Mine drop. The drones run away for the first one, but it's a trap. There's a second Widow Mine. Lings run on it. All the Lings just die with the drones. So that mine, oh man, so many kills there. So that was a little bit concerning. We see Jonsnow, though, fire up another 18 drones. So important for a Zerg not to let your opponent just snowball over you. Sometimes Zergs will just be like, oh, I only lost 3 drones. I don't really need to replace them. Then they'll lose like another 2 or 3, and then all of a sudden they don't have that good of a bank after one bad engagement. So Jonsnow keeping this drone count up, very important to see. He's also got the infestors, and there really is, oh no, those poor drones. There really is no solid answer for these from uThermal besides splits and marauders, I guess. Infestors moving forward, trying to get fungals down. It is the Broodlord infestor composition. Few banelings finish morphing, but as far as the actual army goes for Jonsnow, I mean, it's oh, look at this. Not a lot on the ground really to buffer for these units here, but Widow Mine's going to run underneath these Broodlords. There's actually no Overseers here for Jonsnow. Spinecrawler doing work in order to help defend this base. Jonsnow did lose the one hatchery, though, so that's quite painful. In the end, though, he will end up pushing uThermal back, who kind of made that attack work despite having nothing anti-Broodlord. He just bullied his way in. He's looking to secure this base here, so both these players realizing how important it is to keep their economies going. You don't want to run out of steam, because right now we take a look, and both players, they don't have a huge bank or anything like that. uThermal a little bit better off, and actually coming in for a potential nice base cancel here as well. But still, I mean, oh, this is actually quite painful for Jonsnow, having that base canceled. We are starting to reach the point in which Jonsnow's economy is really going to be hurting, and I know Broodlord Infester's cost efficient, but uThermal might just really surge ahead here if Jonsnow doesn't manage to get his economy back on track or something like that. So 12 more drones going down here. This hatchery has not been rebuilt just yet, so in the income lead is uThermal without a doubt. Meanwhile, Link's just trying to engage on into this small chunk of bio. I mean, good splits from Jonsnow. He's really doing a very good job just keeping his army alive and doing what he must. Oh man, look at this Viking though, gonna kill this Overseer, so there's nothing to spot these Widow Vines. And uThermal still just scanning his opponent. There's infestors hanging out somewhere on the map. uThermal was trying to secure this base in the bottom left, but once again, he's applying that rule of double expand if you can. So even though this base is getting pressured a little bit, uThermal is securing another one, and he can always just drop mules on it. Like, we just got to see uThermal just be able to drop a ton of mules pretty soon here. Meanwhile, Jonsnow pulling his infestors back, realizing he's got to try and defend this. Orbital command does go down, so a bit of a mistake there from uThermal. Broodlords can't attack up. They can only shoot their broodlings towards the ground. Looks like a small army skirmish going down here. at the center of the map, but Jonsnow is starting to run out of units on the ground really to buffer here. I mean, he's got a couple of Infestors, but Infestors alone are actually just Marauder food here. So a lot of Jonsnow's Infestors going down, Vikings coming forward, and if he loses his air control, that can simply be GG. So far, he's kept a few Infestors alive. He's trying to engage the Vikings. He's got to kill these Vikings, otherwise it can simply just be lights out because he won't be able to defend his critical Broodlords. However, we are seeing uThermal push on in. Supply is somehow still even in this game. And ladies and gentlemen, keep in mind that this is the first map in this best of 3 between these players. Jonsnow and uThermal showing a fantastic TvZ here. Just what a crazy TvZ. And I mean, I don't think it's over just yet. It's looking a bit rough for Jonsnow. uThermal, I mean, the main thing is he can just float over CCs and drop mules, which is incredibly good. And just Jonsnow has just been all over the map. I mean, he's been keeping an even supply during this game, but he has quite literally just been everywhere this game, just like having his Broodlords back and forth. I don't think he's ever really just F2'd his army, which is a testament to this guy's skill, because Broodlord and Infestor not easy to control. Looks like he manages to clean up those Widow Mines there, but Widow Mines pretty cheap, so uThermal, I mean, just keeping the pressure on his opponent. Jonsnow kind of bleeding out a little bit here. Resources lost quite in favor for uThermal. Not by as far as you might think. However, he is still mining more here right now, and securing this base in the bottom left. Making life tough for Jonsnow, and then all of a sudden uThermal's like, yeah, you just got slow Broodlords. I'm just gonna mosey on over here to one of your last critical mining base here, really. And Jonsnow has just got to be like, well, my Broodlords are over here to the right, so enjoy it. Drones running away, but they're not really running away. They're more like just waddling to their death, I suppose. Broodlords are possibly going to break this base here. They might get this command center, might pick off the planetary. However, Jonsnow, as far as his army goes, what you see really is what you get for Jonsnow the Zerg right now. 2 Infestors and 9 Broodlords. Lings are engaging this. Could maybe get something done, and that bio is very red. 1 or 2 good fungals could be all that he needs, but oh, make that 1 fungal. That's really all that he's got now, because that Widowmine just executed that Infestor there. uThermal just coming in with a chunk of bio right now. He's still producing units to an okay degree. He's transferring SCVs, securing one of these critical bases. He lost this one here. However, the fact that he took out Jonsnow's base in the bottom left, the fact that this base has never really been reestablished, and the fact that uThermal is now going to start mining off this one a little bit more, is just making it too tough for Jonsnow. So we'll see if he's able to make something here happen here. I mean, he's a fighter. I mean, Ling's getting in, going to pick off some of these STVs. uThermal, a much healthier worker count than his opponent. However, he still really hasn't built up an army that can just take on these Broodlords and Corruptors just yet. So, I mean, maybe Jonsnow can make something happen with these if he shuts down the space. But then, oh, look at this uThermal. This is the thing. He's never really addressed the Broodlord problem. He's just gone around it. And here we see him going in, picking off more and more critical hatcheries. 1 fungal goes down there. These units getting caught a little bit. There's the 2nd fungal. However, it's just about just the Broodlords here for Jonsnow in order to deal with these units on the ground. That's why uThermal's been able to capitalize so much. I mean, if Jonsnow maybe just like kept a few over to one side, maybe that would be good. Zergs don't necessarily do that too often, so they get pulled out of position. However, GG gets called. uThermal takes game number 1 versus Jonsnow in like a 28-minute TvZ. And now we're just going to load on into the next one, ladies and gentlemen. I do thank you for tuning on into this YouTube cast here. If you are enjoying this YouTube cast between Jonsnow and uThermal, I thought I saw it, and I thought, we'll see how it plays out. But no, now we're going to be casting the next game in this best of 3. This TvZ continuing on, and what a great match that last one was. But if we can get a like for that crazy TvZ, please hit it. I mean, it's been a while since I really hit hard on that like goal. So let's try and break 20 likes for this video. An epic TvZ, Jonsnow versus uThermal, spawning up in the top right hand side of the map. It is uThermal, and in the bottom left, it's Jonsnow, the King in the North himself. Come all the way from Westeros to play this game of Starcraft 2 for us, even though his name is spelled differently, so it's actually just a different John from the north. Alright, uThermal, We'll see what he's going to do this game. I mean, that last game was a really cool one. He kind of just went around the Broodlord problem. I mean, okay, tell me this. Riddle me this. When was the last time you players saw a 27-minute TvZ that like went versus a Zerg that had Broodlord and Fester, that the Terran just went around the Zerg just like that? So really, I think that map probably helped uThermal out quite a bit. The fact that Jonsnow was just so split up. But I mean, that was still like eerily close. World of Sleepers, definitely a different map, interesting structure. These minerals behind here. If you are new to the channel, by the way, and you just so happen to be watching uThermal Jonsnow from WCS, watching my coverage of it, feel free to press that like button on this video. Yeah, feel free to press that like button, but as I said, if you're new, feel free to subscribe to the channel. I'm putting out content pretty darn regularly, even though I'm busy. I'm always trying to squeeze out at least one StarCraft 2 video or StarCraft 2 VOD from a cast or something. Like, I'm also just on my Twitch the other day, guys. I live streamed the other day on my Twitch, which you can check out as well and leave a follow. I might try and stream more if I have more time, but yeah, on my Twitch, I actually streamed the other day, kind of just a random tournament, but like 300 of you came out to watch, which was awesome. And so that was really cool. Follow me on Twitter if you want notifications for things like that. There's my sellout talking about this game here. uThermal moving across the map with his Reaper. Oh my god, the SCV coming on in, trying to get the assist on the drone and actually gets the... Wait, the SCV killed the drone. Okay, so uThermal with the big brain plays didn't send his scouting SCV home, kept it over on Jonsnow's side of the map, and threw a wrench into the Zerg's plan. He went for the assassination, and now we've got an SCV with a drone kill. Not every day you see one of those. Reaper's still just poking and prodding as well, so Jonsnow is like, oh man, that's just one of those small little adaptations that you can make, which will make it work. Jonsnow is trying to pull that drone back, but the SCV really threw a wrench into his plans there. The Reaper pokes his nose on in, pulls it out. Meanwhile, Pneumatized Carapace on the way for Jonsnow. He's like, that upgrade's 25 minerals cheaper, 25 gas cheaper. I'm gonna hit that hard. So Jonsnow gonna have some of these speedy overlords, which basically are, unless your opponent has like a Viking or you're pretty poorly with your control with your Pneumatized Carapace overlord, you're probably not gonna lose the thing. Now, what we're looking at right now, I actually don't know. uThermal's been going for a 2-base factory play here versus his opponent. So, in comes Jonsnow. He identifies the fact that there is a tech lab that's researching. It's getting blue flame. Meanwhile, making a cyclone. So, a very odd play here. And oh no, Jonsnow. What did I just say? Losing his overlord there. A pretty careless mistake from Jonsnow. I mean, I literally just was like, unless you make like a pretty big mistake with your overlord and you've got Pneumatized Carapace, you're not going to lose it. And that overlord definitely just needed to be shift-clicked a little bit further out of the base. And then Jonsnow could have kept it alive. But those Marines, they got blood. So far, we have seen a drone, a Zergling, and an overlord die this game. May they rest in peace. But this though is a very interesting TvZ build coming out of uThermal. What we're seeing right now is he's just making Hellions. This could have been a bait to try and make Jonsnow think that it's going to be something like Magfield, Accelerator, Hellions, and Cyclones, when in reality this is just going to be mass Blue Flame Hellions from uThermal. The Zerg has to deal with this, so Jonsnow is making 9 Roaches. Now, Roaches, very, very good versus Hellions, just extremely good as long as they're in position. So, it's interesting how this game's gonna play out. Like, what exactly are these Blue Flame Hellions gonna go? Even if they turn into Hellbats, Roaches are pretty darn good versus Hellbats. So, here we go. 12 Hellions just rolling on in here. Roaches are in position. I mean, and yeah, the Hellions have to back on out. So, today is not their moment. Those Blue Flame Hellions are like, oh man, We even got this fancy blue flame upgrade, but we're still not able to do anything. uThermal, he's trying to find some exposed drones from the seam of it. Over Jonsnow, just in position with his roaches. He's just, all right, just got to make sure I'm ready to react to this. So he probably should be sending his roaches south now, because the Hellions for uThermal are just bouncing around. Hellions now going to be moving on in towards the third base. Jonsnow is a little bit out of... Oh, no, Jonsnow. Okay, a little bit out of position for this one. uThermal committing on in with his Hellions. Drones are going to start dying. If I'm Jonsnow right now, I'm firing up a round of drones for all the ones that are about to die. Currently, 5 drones have just died here. 7. These blue flame Hellions are still causing carnage here in Jonsnow's base. His third base was exposed, but then the Hellions just kind of dawdle over to his third. So what was a pretty good, just easy deflection at first, kind of uThermal found his window here, and all of a sudden 19 drones just died to those blue flame Hellions, and that's quite painful for the Zerg player. Fortunately, Jonsnow did fire up some more drones pretty much right away, so I mean, doing what he needs to do there. And the only real consolation prize for the Zerg here is the fact that uThermal did commit. That wasn't just like a normal amount of Hellions that uThermal went for there. If that was like the standard Terran 6 Hellions, no blue flame that run in and do that, that's pretty much a game. Now, however, uThermal did commit a fair bit to get that many Hellions. Think about it, he went for a fast second factory, got the blue flame. That was 12 Hellions for 20 drones, so not the end of the world for Jonsnow. I believe he can macro his way out of this. Right now we're seeing 1-1 on the way for the Zerg player, so gonna have an upgrade lead. Just make roaches to deal with the Terran mech. And uThermal, though, is securing up his third base, so he's going to have himself a pretty good economy behind this. That's part of, that's in the contract if you want to make a lot of Hellion Cyclone. You gotta have a good economy behind it. We see some roaches at the third base for Jonsnow, ready to intercept these Hellions. A few more coming on in, so a nice defense here so far. These Hellions, I mean, all it takes is a few shots to kill some more. I spoke a little bit too soon. An okay defense. 4 drones go down for 3 Hellions. Not the end of the world, but more just darting on in here, and these Hellions almost dead, but still getting a shot or 2 off is all that it takes so far. That was like, what, 5 Hellions for 5 more drones? Jonsnow will take that trade. And now we're actually seeing Jonsnow go for a very, very good tech here, I feel. Going for Swarm Host, which isn't always the Zerg answer to mech. However, this early on, I really do like Swarm Host. They seem to find so much value. We'll see if he does go for a Nidus or something. But no, very big fan of the Swarm Host here. We'll see where Jonsnow is going to send his. You generally want to try and get him on a base or something. And if we take a look at what the Terran has, it's not a lot that is going to be able to deal with Swarm Host. Just head up. Sometimes the Terran can just tank a wave of Locust or something like that. I don't know if that's going to be the case this time without any real losses. uThermal does have a lot of Hellions, so maybe. But I feel even Locust can pick off a few. So in goes some Locust now. They're going to be heading towards that third base of the Terran, and there's actually really no units there to deal with it for now. So these Locusts just going to fly on in, not getting right on top of the SCVs. So I'm not sure how much they're going to get this round. They do get a denied mining time there, as these Locusts are going to force the SCVs away, but in the end they will expire pretty darn quick there. So uThermal just goes right back to mining at this base with a rich... This is a rich refinery, right? It's purple gas, or is that just the skin? Yeah, this is a rich refinery. I thought it said rich refinery when you clicked on it, though, so... That's actually something to ask here. I thought it said, like... Maybe it doesn't say, like, a rich refinery when it's just, like, a rich Vespine geyser. Another Locust wave going on out. This is where Jonsnow's beginning to pressure uThermal. Going to try and break his opponent, deny as much mining as he can. Roaches and Raveners moving on in, but they're not moving on up the ramp where there's tanks situated, so you got to be careful if you're Jonsnow. You don't want to overcommit. Hellions and Cyclones are being kept back by just a wave of Locust, and there's going to be another wave not too long from now, so uThermal's kind of pinned here now. And by the way, oh, okay, yeah, that's definitely just a rich extractor. I was hoping I could click on Jonsnow's to confirm that. Not the case, though. Two Swarm Hosts do go down to these Cyclones, getting a nice lock on. Looks like uThermal trying to break down these rocks, but kind of busy here, getting chased by roaches and Locust here. In goes a few Locusts, picking off a Hellion, maybe 2, just 1 Hellion for now. There'll be another wave coming on in pretty soon, though, so I don't mind this position for Jonsnow. He's going to start building up a bank pretty soon, and I do believe in Jonsnow's capability to deal with mech, as long as he deals with the harassment. That's the main thing, that in a head-on fight, still, just making, like, mass Mass Hellion Cyclone is not a good option here for the, not a good option for the Terran. So you generally have to get a ton of harassment off as the Terran, whether it be Liberator harass, Hellion Cyclone harass, Battle Cruiser harassment. It doesn't really matter, but you've got to get something to prevent the Zerg just from building up a big bank, making a ton of infestors. And so what Jonsnow really should be doing here, I feel, is building up a good amount of static defense at these bases just to buy some time, making sure he's not pulled out of position too much here. Looks like he may lose a few more of his Swarm Host here, and he's actually lost a fair few so far. 12 Swarm Hosts have gone down. Of course, there's kind of some inevitability to lose units to Hellion Cyclone just because of the Cyclones locking on, but Jonsnow has lost a few of his too many Swarm Hosts so far, but not like nothing that's costing him the game, but maybe could be a bit more careful with these. Right now we're seeing the Hellions and Cyclones going to break down these rocks to the best of their ability. In comes some Locusts just trying to get done what they can, but this is quite an army of Hellions, and they do chew through that Locust, so we are seeing Jonsnow reaching towards the next tech, looking to maybe go for an attack in towards that base, but that is not happening, and these Roaches and Ravagers could be in a fair bit of trouble right now. In comes uThermal. I mean, this is just a tiny army here for the Zerg. Jonsnow tossing down Corrosive Bowels, but not really anticipating where the Terran mech will go. There's some nice Corrosive Bowels, potentially getting some hits there, dropping down some more, just trying to push this army back. We really do need to see some Infestors in order to lock down the Hellion Cyclone or something to help Jonsnow. I mean, even when this composition was new, we'd see Zergs go for say Infestors or Vipers just to pull them back. So we'll see if that's what Jonsnow is going to go for, or if he is really just going to be focusing on these Broodlords. We take a look, there's no real anti-air here besides the Cyclones for uThermal, so if there is just a decent amount of Broodlords for Jonsnow, I'm not sure uThermal will actually be able to deal with them. We'll see. I mean, I think if Jonsnow maybe makes like 10 Broodlords or something, then he can probably just crash through, and there's not a lot that the Terran player will be able to do about it. Meanwhile, another wave of Locusts going on in, just trading out with the Terran army. Resources lost fairly even still this game. Jonsnow just keeping a good economy going. He's got a Spine Crawler at this base. Praise hallelujah, basically. A Zerg player getting up a Spine Crawler, something that I really like to see. I'd even like to see one or two more. Jonsnow starting to build up a bank, so maybe should be doing that. Corrosive Bowels being tossed down. A great tool to zone out the Hellions and Cyclones. Look at that. Just uThermal has to back out unless he wants to take some damage, and now we're seeing Broodlords on the way here for the Zerg player. Jonsnow's max, so he can't actually make any more, so he really needs to actually lose a few more units before he can do that. So he's actually looking to press on in a little bit here. Roaches and Ravagers moving on in. Probably wants to lose a few of these so he can make some more Broodlords. Got to be careful not to lose everything, otherwise there is like a potential to steamroll that could happen. Corrosive Bowels though trying to zone this Hellion Cyclone army back, at least get some even trades out if it does go down. And so Jonsnow just retreating for now. I'm really liking his situation, though. We take a look at what the Zerg has. He's got Broodlords on the way. The Terran is really just building additional starports now. The Terran player on 4 bases, but the Zerg just has a plethora of bases here, and I'm liking this position for Jonsnow. Like I said, I feel that he definitely has the capability to deal with mech. We are seeing the Terran move on in, bully with this Hellion Cyclone still, but nothing too major has happened, or nothing too bad has happened. We are seeing some Broodlords move on in now, though, so that hand has been revealed. Another wave of Locusts going to go on in towards the 3rd base. That's going to be like a gimme tank, which is nice for Jonsnow, but he probably does want to be pushing across the map with his Broodlords now. Make that push. Couple of Corruptors moving a little bit too far forward, and if there's one thing that Cyclones kill quickly, Corruptors really are on that list, particularly since they can't defend themselves. Now we do take a look, though. Jonsnow starting to push on in. He's got a very good number of Broodlords. There's only one Viking on the way. And look at this. uThermal realizes that he needs to abandon ship right now. Just time to abandon ship. Oh no, these Broodlords for Jonsnow are just trying to chase this Hellion Cyclone, and I feel like this is definitely the wrong call for Jonsnow. He could definitely be pushing with these Broodlords. If he gives uThermal too much time, that could cost him a lot. This is why I like to see a ton of static defenses Zerg's bases if they can afford it, of course. It's not like he can magically have a ton for free, but Jonsnow really just needs to make like defense versus these small armies happen and keep pushing with his army right now. The concern, though, is that uThermal's going to deal a ton of damage to Jonsnow's bases and then make the hold, and that will really tie Jonsnow's hands behind his back. So Jonsnow, he's really got to pull this one back here. His economy, I mean, it's taken a fair bit of a beating, so he really needs to do some damage to his opponent. He's got a good number of Corruptors, though, in order to cover these Broodlords, so I fully think that that Jonsnow can make this push happen, but he's got to deal with these Cyclones, he's got to deal with these Hellions that are here. He's finally cleaning them up, but his economy has taken a bit of a beating, so he's got to go, go, go. He's Jonsnow, go, go, go. Basically, crashing on in towards the Zerg, in towards the Terran Natural. A bit of deja vu here. Is the Terran going to buy enough time to hold on? Corruptors have just been trying to get inside the Terran main base just to shut down the production there, to pick off any Vikings that they can. Meanwhile, these Broodlords just trading out as well as they can. We take a look at uThermal's army, and it's not that great here. So he's lost a lot of his mining as well, which is very, very painful, since he needs to squeeze out as many units as he can in hopes that he can topple what the Zerg army is. So maybe Jonsnow is going to be able to take this. We look at the supply, and this is fantastic for the Zerg player. However, this is not fantastic. 11 Vikings to 11 Corruptors. As long as uThermal micros back, it should be pretty good for him. The Corruptors, they got quite a speed buff a while ago, so might be enough. And there we go, a nice fungal growth goes down, but then we take a look. This is actually just so many Vikings. They're actually outpowering the Corruptors, which is not something that happens often. We take a look, though, the Broodlords, they're trying to run away. They're waddling with their tails between their legs, basically, and, oh man, their baby broodlings are about to be in a world of hurt here. As uThermal's coming on in, he's going to start focusing down the Corruptors and bringing Cyclones along to lock onto the Corruptors, which will just annihilate them, and I think that uThermal has actually done it. He's actually made the comeback happen. The supply for Jonsnow is dropping. He can't defend his Broodlords right now. Even if some of the Vikings go down working around the Spore Crawler, working around these Queens, it's just going to be so, so good here for uThermal. He immediately has re-landed his bases. He's probably going to start dropping mules like mad, and then when the dust settles, who's in the lead? I think uThermal's in an okay spot, just based off the fact that he's got that mule, those mules, he's able to float those bases over, whereas Jonsnow's economy is really just getting back on track here. So what does Jonsnow do at this point? He's spending his gas on Infestors, which I like to see. Broodlord Infestor, very good composition. He's got some Roaches here to try and deal with these Infestors, but he's got to be careful not just to bleed off here. And in these small unit trades, Cyclones really do excel, because it is fairly doable for the Terran just to work away and take nice trades here. And yeah, we are seeing these Cyclones coming in, bully Jonsnow, the supply about to go in uThermal's favor, it would seem. And that really could be the tipping point here. We see Vikings crossing the map once more. A ton of Hellions here on the ground, the Cyclones on the ground. Really just in these small numbers. That's where the Cyclones do well. En masse, just building them non-stop. Not necessarily the best, but when it comes to this situation, it seems to be doing uThermal good, just with these small numbers of Cyclones really turning the tide in this fight. Corruptors are coming on in, but there's not enough to take on these Vikings. A lot of infested Terran do go down to zone out the Vikings and zone out the rest of the army. But once that energy is gone, I don't know, but for Jonsnow, I mean, he's staying alive. He does have more Infestors on the way, which is actually really, really critical. He's got pathogen glands. However, these Broodlords could be going down before that, which would be absolutely disastrous. Where are the rest of those Infestors? They're waddling out. However, there's going to be no more Broodlords here right now, so it's really just Infestors here for Jonsnow. Infested Terran getting thrown on out, but that is not enough. It looks like uThermal's going to be able to push it in. Jonsnow's army is not bad, but he needs to get some very nice fungals or something in with this. A few Roaches out even will help them drastically. However, this base is now under fire. It's potentially going down. uThermal's still just mining a very healthy amount, so I think the Terran player may have done it. I mean, Jonsnow's got Infestors. When you got like a spellcaster, there's usually a chance, no matter the race you play. You can always hope for that money hit. But Jonsnow just trying to make everything he can. Can he clean up this army? Charges on in, but good split from uThermal. Mass infested Terran go down, but those Hellbats, I mean, Jonsnow threw him right on top of those Hellbats, so I don't know if he's going to be able to have enough here to clean it up. And the answer is I don't think he does. The Swarm Host goes down there that remained in these Infestors are not going to be able to do it. GG gets called. uThermal takes the 2-0 versus Jonsnow. But that is why I cast that series, ladies and gentlemen. Jonsnow showing some fantastic games versus an incredibly good Terran player. So in the end, uThermal does take it kind of as you'd expect. But no, a great game here from uThermal and Jonsnow. But great to see a TvZ just like this. A really refreshing TvZ this was to watch. Now, if you enjoyed the cast, make sure to press that like button. Let's try and break 20 likes on this. And if you break 20 likes, I'll definitely cast some more WCS. So Let's aim for that. And of course, if you're new to the channel, feel free to press that subscribe button. Regardless, I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.